welcome. I wanted to say, first of all, that this is a very collaborative project. And the two main friends we started this off with are Maria Calderon Munoz and Erika Busse, who are on the call. Maria, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Calderon Munoz, and I met Tanja a long time ago when we were doing our MA. I work at UKRI here and I am based here in the UK. Erika?
Thank you, Maria. I'm Erika Busse. I'm an assistant professor at Macalester College in the US, so it's 10 a.m. for me. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And Maria, Tanja, and I know each other for the past, should I say the number of years that we know each other? Like, no, okay, so I've been censored. I won't say, but as Maria said, many years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. So a couple of tech tips and announcements. Yeah, just please mute yourself unless you're speaking. As I said, the first part of the session is going to be recorded. So feel free to keep your camera off if that makes you feel more comfortable. We're planning to have about half an hour, 30 minutes or so at the end of the session for Q&A, so for a discussion. I have to remind myself to speak more slowly because there are many people on the call for whom English is not their first language, and when I get excited or a bit nervous, I just speak very quickly. So feel free to remind me to slow down. And our intent is to be inclusive and welcoming of all attendees. So we ask you to approach this event with openness and respect for all the speakers and for the participants. Before I move on, I wanted to really mention the people, everybody who's helped with this project, so to acknowledge their help. I might not mention everybody, but these are the key people who've made this possible. First of all, the seeds. So this is the School of Environment, Education and Development where I work. Their Social Responsibility Catalyst Fund, their 2021 competition, which provided the funding. Then the two research groups that I'm part of who are also supporting this event, the Migration, Refugees and Asylum research group at the Global Development Institute, the Urban Justice, Gender and Social Difference research group of the Manchester Urban Institute, also known as the Feminist Collective. Emma Kelly, who's here on the call, please give us a wave, Emma, who works for the GDI communications team. So Emma's done an absolutely amazing job. She set up the submission page. She's anonymized all the entries so that we could select and look at the photographs without having any other information other than the title. She designed the photo exhibition. She set up the website. She's taken care of social media. So this really, you've been part of this project from the beginning, and we're really, really grateful for everything you've done. Emilia Thomas Calderon, who's translated from Spanish into English. Veronica Castro, who is a virtual anthropologist, who will speak later on. She designed the set of cards that we produced as part of this project and was also part of the assessment panel and did all the translation from and into Portuguese. Nuno Matos, who's an artist and a designer, and designed and produced these amazing folders in two colors, and he's going to speak later on about this. And last but not least, all the photographers who have submitted their photographs to this competition. So I'll just say a little bit about the context for the photo competition and this photo launch. So this photo competition, as has already been mentioned, grew up out of our friendship. So Maria, Erika and myself met over 20 years ago when studying at IDS in Brighton for a master's at Gender and Development. And it's great to see some of our friends from our cohort on this call. Hello, Rehana. So during the pandemic, we started meeting regularly, first just to catch up on how things were going with our respective families, updating us on events in Latin America, and then to read feminist decolonial readings. When the call came out for proposals to the SEED Social Responsibility Fund, Social Catalyst Fund, we put in an application for a photo competition on transnational migration and COVID-19 in Latin America. Our proposal spoke to our ongoing interest in migration and the Latin American region. It merged with the current context, which at the time was entering year 2 of the pandemic, and spoke to our interest in approaching the decolonial agenda through collective work. Some countries in the region, such as Peru, are topping the world charts of having the highest death rates in the world due to COVID. We have all seen the tragic scenes of hospitals in parts of Brazil running out of oxygen at the peak of the pandemic. And some of us have also lost or have friends who have lost their loved ones to COVID. So there is much that we can learn from newspapers, articles, and other media, but in this project, we wanted to create a space for stories to be told in other ways through photographs. So judging, or better said, selecting the winning entries has been incredibly difficult. I, for one, have no previous experience of working with photographs. Erika used to work as a photojournalist, so this is something that was a bit more familiar for her, and it was great to have her on the team. But at this point of selecting the entries, we enlisted the help of Veronica Castro, who is a more recent friend, who is a visual anthropologist and was already involved in the project designing the set of cards, which she'll talk about later. Finger crossed, she will join us. Excuse me, my daughter has just come back from school, so she might walk in at some point. So we considered each entry for what it told us about what we understood as the experiences of transnational migrants in Latin America at that time, which was May 2021. And it is indicative to me that the winning entry is about absence, an absence of migrants, people crossing a border that is usually very busy, so a change in the rhythms of the busyness. And Veronica Montoya, who couldn't join us for this event, has sent a video, which I'll show shortly. But there is also conviviality, smiles, colors, and clothes drying in the wind. So the common thread in these photos, for me at least, is about visibility and invisibility. As we know, migrants are made very visible at certain times, such as elections or political campaigns, where they're made scapegoats, blaming them for the country's ills. For example, in Argentina, blatantly during the 1990s, in Chile more recently, but they are then invisibilized during most of the rest of the time. So during the pandemic, there was little news about how migrants lived and experienced the pandemic. So there were some snapshots from where I was sitting. We saw Bolivians stuck on the Chilean borders, denied entry to their own country's citizenship, having to camp at high altitude in terrible conditions. There were Haitians tear gassed on the Peruvian and Brazilian border. Questions about whether Venezuelans would be allowed to get access to health services in Brazil during a time of public health crisis. So with this competition, with this photo competition, we wanted to hone in on the everyday experiences of migrants in the region from the migrants' point of view. And this is what we have now.